Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining our product webinar for February. Today, we'll be covering off the business level income generate and auto match feature, our recent enhancements to the contribution cap report, and some other miscellaneous items. Quick introduction. I'm Amod. I'm the product manager for Super. I have about 8 years in product management experience, and I'm an engineer by training. Also want to just cover off a few housekeeping topics. A copy of this PowerPoint will be made available to you via the webinar handouts. We'll also be taking questions during the webinar via the chat window. However, the answers to those questions will be made available in a few days' time. We will send out a summary of every question and all our answers from this session. The recording of this webinar will be published on our class education page. And finally, at the conclusion of this webinar, we would love it if you could take a moment to complete a short survey on your experience with us today. With that being said, I'll jump to the business level income generate and auto match feature. Essentially, what it does is it allows users to generate the generated events are then auto-matched with cache events. And initially, we launched this feature as part of our December release in a small controlled beta with a few clients. We got some really positive feedback, and now we are confident about rolling this out to our entire client base. And that update is going out this coming weekend, the 8th and 9th of February. And before we jump into the actual demo, we estimate that if you're a practice with about 100 funds, using this feature should save you about 5 hours per month in processing time. So with that being said, I'll jump into the actual demonstration. Essentially, how you get to this feature is at the business level, you go into transactions and enter cash console. You switch to all cash mode and select the date range. Which gives you a list of all the unmatched transactions. You'll see a new button called Bulk Generate Income. And from this screen, you will search for the securities in question. I'm doing NAB for the purpose of illustration. You can select the security and click on Create Income Events and Auto Match, which starts the process of the generation of income. And it gives you an indication of how many funds are there in total and its progress as it goes through. You can hit refresh to sort of see the progress as it completes the processing. And once it's done, you will notice that all those events are then auto-matched. You are able to then also click the log button, which essentially gives you the information on the process itself and what events were created for which funds. So you can peruse through it at your own free time. On to the next feature of our presentation today is the contribution cap report announcement. So essentially what it does is it allows the contributions that are coming via SMF data flow to be included as part of the report via a new parameter that we've added. It also gives you the visibility on seeing the breakdown for employer contributions to figure out whether they're voluntary or mandatory. And the feature was made available in our December release. And we estimate that if you're a practice with about 100 funds, you would save 45 minutes of processing time every month. I'll jump into demonstration for this feature. Can essentially go into a fund, go into reports, run report, just like how you would normally get to the report. Select contribution cap. You'd notice that there's a new parameter called include SMSF data flow in transactions. You will hit yes, and then you will run the report like you normally do. Once the report is generated, you would find that there's a new source column which identifies SMSF data flow as the source of the contribution, as well as you see the breakdown between employer mandated and employer voluntary contributions. So you can see that split for the contributions as well. And if, let's say, the source wasn't SMSF data, or if they were manually created, then you will see the word manual in the source column. And that concludes the demonstration part of the presentation. I'll briefly talk about some other enhancements that were covered in our December release, and some of the key things that we are introducing in our upcoming February release, which is going in the weekend of 8th and 9th Feb. So for December, the key callouts are the asset strategy minutes and reports. So we have improved the accessibility of this report, where you can run it in a report, or you can run it in a report pack across all your clients, whereas previously you were only able to run it on a per asset strategy level on a per fund basis. So that's changed now. We've also added a new pension identifier in the Excel fund loader. So in the existing pensions tab, there is going to be a new row where you can identify pension accounts. Regards to the corporate actions, we've introduced a few new ones, as supported new ones in the December release, and the full list can be accessed via this link here. When it comes to mutual funds, we have we've introduced support for income generation and asset allocation. And as far as feeds is concerned, we are happy to report that we have tax statement support for BT Panorama and Net Wealth. What that means is you're now able to automatically generate tax statements with income component breakdowns, which reduces the manual work required on your end to prepare for end of year processing. As far as the upcoming February release is concerned, I just want to make a quick call out to the OSGI to MyGovID replacement. Essentially, I'm happy to report that class has implemented the required changes on our end, and I encourage any clients that are still using the old OSGIs to switch over to the MyGovID, so that they are better prepared for the 1st of April cutover. And finally, an item under our upcoming February release is the Excel fund loader changes, which now support the ability to upload T-bar records en masse and without having to do it one by one. And so, yeah, finally, I would like to just thank everybody for joining us today. And we will share the answers to any questions that were submitted in the webinar shortly. And as I mentioned at the start, there'll be a very short survey at the conclusion of the webinar. And if you could take time to participate, it'll be very helpful for us, and we'll greatly appreciate any feedback from you regarding the presentation today or its content. Again, thank you so much for your time today.